The first R6 tip that feels like cheating is the fact that you can literally just get around mute if you're a hard breacher. As you can see, when I put a thermite down and the wall is mute jammered, I can't activate the thermite, right? Because it's in a mute jammer. Click, doesn't do anything. All you have to do is go to one side and go as far as you can, then look all the way up and place it on the wall just like that. And now, as you can see, it's not in the radius of the mute jammer because I can just blow it up, which makes mute completely useless for exterior walls. Or honestly, interior walls too. You can do this on any outside wall at all and get around it with ace, thermite, Hibana, it doesn't matter. Which is why this tip feels kind of like cheating. Just like this next tip that completely counters shields by just playing rook. So if a shield operator is coming to you and you have rook armor on, just like I'm about to have right here, instead of having to melee you just 2 times, now the shield operator has to melee you 3 times. That's once, that's twice, that's 3 times. Now you might have already known about that tip, which is fair, but I guarantee you have no idea that when Doc stims himself when he's downed, he's actually completely invincible. And to show you this, I've brought you Kali's Sniper, which is one of the highest damaging weapons in the entire game. So once I down him, he's gonna stim himself, and I can't shoot him or kill him while he's stimming himself because he's invincible, as you can see by the fact that I literally just shot him while he was getting back up. Now, you're not going to use this in most of your games. It's pretty impractical, but if you ever are shooting a Doc that's stimming himself and he doesn't die, now you know why. A tip that is much more practical, though, is taking gunfights from farther away, especially when you're swinging. Now, one thing about the current meta is that everybody is using ACOGs, especially if you're on console and you can't use stretched res. Not only does swinging angles when you're farther away allow you to take gunfights easier when you're using an ACOG, but it makes it easier in general for a reason you might not know about. Let's say, for example, that I know somebody is standing right on those pile of clothes that I just destroyed in Master, and I'm in a trophy. Swinging the door like this when I'm close to the door is actually disadvantageous, because he's going to see my shoulder and my elbow before my head can see him. However, if I were to back up and swing out, I would appear to be smaller, which makes it a lot easier for him to have not as much reaction time and make it a lot easier for me to kill him. So always try to take gunfights from farther away, whether it be swinging a doorway like this one, or even swinging a doorway like this one, even swinging a window. Don't get up close like this, back all the way up as far as you can, and then swing. Obviously, do it within reason. If you're going to put yourself in danger by backing up, don't do it. But in most scenarios, you never want to swing off of a wall. You always want to swing a little bit farther back. And a lot of the times, that can get you a free kill. Just like this next tip about using claymores. Now, a lot of the times, placing claymores is a bad idea just because most players will be able to easily see the laser and shoot it, due to it being a bright red beam like this. However, when somebody shoots a claymore, they immediately just run away, which is why stacking a claymore behind the first claymore that you placed is such a good idea. Because realistically, if you're a defender flanking and you shoot one claymore, you're not going to expect the second one to be there. And because the lasers are already deployed by the second one, the second that you shoot the first one, these lasers are already deployed. Meaning if they shoot that one and run, they're going to die to the second one. And this alone has gotten me so many free kills because nobody expects it. And a lot of the times too, it's not like you're going to use your second claymore for a second flank. Like if I'm pushing up here in trophy, I only have to worry about one single flank. So it's okay to use both of your claymores in one place because you're never going to use your second claymore in the first place. At least for this specific push. In other pushes, sure, you might actually use it, but a lot of the times you don't, which is why stacking claymores is such a good idea. Which is just like our next tip about countering shields. A lot of people don't know this, but if you end up doing damage to a shield operator, they can't sprint or melee when you do it because of an effect called suppression. So if I turn on my HUD really quickly and Valkyrie shoots my shield, you can see this bottom left little red timer that's slowly going down. That is suppression. And when that's active, I can't sprint at all. Meaning that one of the best ways that you can counter shields is literally just by shooting them in the shield. They won't be able to run at you, which is great for Blitz players, because then you can just shoot them in the feet or shoot them in the shoulder, and especially Monty players that run at you that are way too cocky when they don't have their shield extended. Something else that you might not have known about is how to correctly break a window when you're prepping it for a run out. Now, I want you to listen to my game really quickly. Here, I'll even turn my audio up. Now tell me which sounds louder, this or this? Obviously, the first one sounded louder, right? And the enemies on the other side of the window will notice that difference too. Because if you do the second way of knifing a barricade like I showed you, not only will they be able to not hear it, but as you can still see, I get the vault prompt and I'm still able to hop out of the window. Which means the correct way of knifing a window to prep a run out, instead of just hitting the bottom twice, is to shoot out a portion here and here. And then knife the sliver of barricade on the left side of that. And as you can see, I can still hop out. Now, this isn't the only barricade tip that I'm going to give you. In fact, I have a lot of them. Another tip with a window being that it takes 2 bullets in order to destroy a sliver of any part of the barricade. 1 bullet doesn't destroy it, but 2 does. It's always 2 no matter where you try to break the barricade. So if you're ever trying to go for a late round peek into the outside of the building to shoot an attacker, you can absolutely abuse this. All you have to do is go up to the barricade and look around where head level is. It's usually this one right here. If you think they're crouching, maybe break open both of them, but all you have to do is put 1 bullet into the barricade. Once you've done that and you know that they're where you want them to be, you shoot out the second bullet, and then you should be able to see them wherever you want. Let's say I know that they're crouching. Instead of breaking this panel, I'll break the one below it. I'll prep 1 bullet, and then I'll prep a second one, the second that I want to open it. Boom. And then you kill them. It's that easy. So what I do is if I know that I'm going to peek a window in the prep phase, I'll go around and do this. Now they're both prepped, so if I want to peek off the window, all I have to do is this. And peek people. It's so easy. The reason that I like to do that as well is because I only like to actually break the barricade portion. I don't like to break the glass, which is why I don't just spam through a window and break it. I like to prep it and then shoot, because then the glass isn't broken, which makes it make less noise, and it makes it to where the window breaking doesn't make noise either. Something else that makes way less noise is instead of just opening a barricade with your crowbar or shooting it open blatantly, you can prep entire barricades as well. Just like it takes 2 bullets to break any part of the barricade, it actually takes 20 bullets to destroy an entire barricade. As you can see, and now this is my 20th bullet. And as you can see, I ran out perfectly, and you can use this to your advantage. If you in the prep phase put 19 bullets into the barricade like I just did, and you sit and wait for a noise, you can just shoot 1 bullet and then run out the barricade. And they will never see that coming, ever. Now that's enough about barricades, but trust me, we'll revisit them later. Because the next R6 tip that feels like cheating is the fact that if you're playing Finka, or you at least have a Finka on your team, and somebody self-revives out of a frost mat that they walk into, if you self-revives, it gives you this huge bleeding effect, right? Look, I'm leaving gallons of blood on the floor that should not even be humanly possible. But if I simply just give a Finka boost, that effect goes away. As you can see, I can sprint around. I'm not leaving any more pools of blood anywhere that I go. So the one thing that makes Frost actually kind of powerful in a solo queue environment is completely gone with Finka. Now, you might not have thought that that gives you that much of an advantage because it's pretty situational, but something that is way less situational is this next tip about making head holes. Now, most people, when they make head holes, make them from about a distance of right here, right? That's a good sized head hole. The one thing about it, though, is you can't vault through it, which is good because your enemies can't either. But if you just back up just a little bit, like that much, it still looks like head holes. So they're not going to try to vault through that, but trust me, you still can. So if you get good with making head holes that don't look like they're vaultable, but are actually vaultable, you can surprise a lot of enemies. For example, if you have a guy right here contesting you when you're in cash, instead of taking this gunfight here, you can pull out your shotgun, vault, and shotgun him, and catch him completely by surprise. Always having an extra rotate option is going to be advantageous to you, no matter where it is, and head holes are no exception. Something else that they're definitely not going to expect at all is the fact that you can use zombies to make runouts that people would never expect. So let's say, for example, that you have this window broken open, right? Maybe you're trying to get a runout for people on this window or these windows. It doesn't matter. You just have this window open, right? Well, one thing is if you zombie it, the attackers are going to expect you to melee it 2 times and then break it to run out, right? Because it takes 3 melees to do it. What if I told you that you didn't have to melee it at all? Because Ubisoft implemented a new mechanic with a zombie that makes it to where you can't vault on top of zombies, and if you try to vault near or next to them at all, that they just break. Which means that if you want to fool them, you put it up there, they're going to expect you to melee it 3 times, when in reality, it's just going to break, and then you can run out and catch them completely by surprise. It's a crazy way to abuse Ubisoft mechanics in order to get a free kill, which is why it kind of feels like cheating. Another tip that definitely feels like cheating is the fact that you can manipulate tarps and carpet around any map to make sound louder. For example, people love to rush elbow as blitz, or just anybody in general. So that's why I actually recommend that you shotgun tarps like this or carpet around any maps. It's not really that noticeable of a difference, but to me, the sound of tarps or concrete is a different sound, even if it's not louder or quieter. It's just a different sound, which helps me pinpoint people's location better. Because if I know that they're making a tarp sound, I know, well, they're not on this one because I shot this one open, and they're not on these 2 because let's say I shotgun those open, so I know that they have to be on these 2 tarps because this is a different sound than this, right? So now I can manipulate the carpet and the tarps around the map to know exactly which ones they're on, so I know exactly where to place my crosshair to know where I need to take the gunfight. So it gives you information at the cost of almost nothing. Another great piece of information that you need in your ranked games is that if you're ever trying to play above or below a wooden floor for vert play, and you don't know if the metal beams that you're shooting into go up, down, left, right, you just don't know, a good rule of thumb is it always goes in the opposite direction that the wood is going, which is how it works in real life. So if the wood is going up and down, then I know the metal beams are going left to right. Or if I turn this way, the wood's going left to right. So I know the metal beams are going to be up and down. Let's test it out, right? Look at that. They're up and down because the wood is left to right. You can do this literally anywhere. Let's try it over here. I know the wood's up and down, so the metal beams are going to be left to right. Look at that. They're going left to right, right? So it's always the opposite of where the wood is going. So if you're ever playing vert, just know that. Something else that you need to know is that if you're planning on spawn peeking a window, do not break the glass of that window. Breaking the glass of a window makes it way more obvious that you're spawn peeking. For example, to show you this, what is more obvious as an attacker? This as a spawn peek right here, or that as a spawn peek? Obviously, this is more obvious because the glass is broken. It especially works if it's next to another window that also has glass on it, because people's minds as attackers are going to reference this window in their heads without knowing it subconsciously, right? And they're going to say that these two look pretty similar, and therefore no one's spawn peeking on it, when in reality someone is spawn peeking on it. And if in reference they have this with glass on it and this without glass on it, their brain is immediately going to think, oh, someone's on that window, and they're going to ADS it, right? But if they both have glass on it and they're not getting shot from that one, then the brain isn't immediately going to see that there's a spawn peek there, even if it ends up seeing it later. So if you're going for a spawn peek, just break the side of the barricade like that. Don't break the glass. You'll get a lot more kills that way. Now, one thing on my channel that I like to do, especially when I'm streaming, is Amaruing through hatches. It makes less noise than doing it through a window, and typically it's a lot safer, especially if it's not connected to the site like this hatch is. But another thing that's just as good is using flash grenades before you do it. Well, how would you do that? Not only can you literally just shoot through the hatch like this, especially with a shotgun, and then just throw a flash through there, right? That works. But you can also do it from the floorboard as well, by just shooting open a part of the floor that you think somebody is going to be sitting on, throwing a flash grenade like this, pulling out your Amaru ability and flashing in, and going in right after the flash has been detonated to get a free kill. If you time it right and you're quick enough, they will still be blinded by the time you come in. Flashing also gets rid of a lot of sound, making you a lot more sneaky when you do this, and if you have a shotgun to their face, or in this case an SMG-11, you will get that kill. So before you Amaru into a hatch, either through the hatch or through the floor, just throw in a little flash grenade, and then pull out your ability, Amaru in, and get some free kills. Another niche way that you can use an ability to get a free kill is this tip with Fenrir. Now, Fenrir mines aren't bulletproof anymore, which means that you need to be able to find creative ways to hide the Fenrir mines without them getting shot. One of the best ways that you can do this is by using barricades. All you have to do is break the glass and the actual barricade on a window. Then throw your Fenrir mine on the windowsill, just like this, and activate it. Once you've done that, you're going to re-barricade the barricade, just like this, and then you're going to shoot out a part of the window like this, next to your Fenrir mine. This will make it to where if they walk through right here, they're going to get stunned by the Fenrir mine. And if they're looking around corners for that Fenrir with their drone, they're never going to think to look outside of the window right there. You could even break it a little bit lower instead of breaking it right there, and they will still get stunned. And their first instinct, again, isn't going to look for a barricade. They're going to look down there. They're going to look right there. They're going to look up there. They're going to look somewhere in the roof if that's possible. Maybe they're looking for the floor glitch. Whatever it may be, they're not going to look where the Fenrir mine is, which is actually a very big deal. Because if they try once and you're doing the strat, then you know that they're eventually going to have to try again, which means you can be prepared by sitting somewhere like Skybridge, and the second that you hear it go off again, you wait for them to get blind and you shoot them. And then they're going to go back and do it again. And they're going to go back and they're going to do it again. All this does is it gives you more free opportunities to get that kill on the blinded person, and it wastes even more time. So if you ever have a window that you can put Fenrir mines in, like this window here that nobody really repels on, I definitely recommend that you do it. Something else that you definitely need to try in your ranked games is this glitched drone spot on Consulate. If you're pushing the top floor and you want a good drone spot for the hallway next to the bathroom, all you have to do is get on your drone, drive your drone into the wall like this, turn, then drive into this white pillar, and then move your drone to the left without turning your head. Then you could turn around, and now you are inside the wall, and you can see this hallway. And if you get off your camera really quick and you go around to here, you can't see that camera, but that camera can definitely still see you. And the best part about it, let me ping right here, right? This is where the camera is. It's bulletproof. It's completely bulletproof. I'm spamming an entire mag into where this drone would be, and it's still alive, as you can see. I can even go behind it, and I can't see or shoot it either. It's still right there. It is a bulletproof camera that they can't even see that you will get free information on. Crazy glitch. It's still unpatched, and it's been unpatched for seasons, and I abuse it every single time I get on consulate, and you should too. Something else that you need to be abusing in every single game is moving while making any sort of sight setup, whether it be head holes or rotates. Whenever you're actually doing the action of shooting the holes open, you should be moving the entire time. You can move side to side, but I find the best use of it to actually be moving in a circle like this, or a circle like this. It doesn't actually matter, but the entire reason that you move is because there's this funny thing that happens with your crosshair, where when you're sitting still, it doesn't move. But when you move, your crosshair actually expands because you're going to be less accurate with the shotgun that you're holding. Whether it be a bailiff or an actual shotgun, you get the idea, your crosshair expands, which means that if you're trying to make a hole, the hole you make is going to be bigger. Let's say I want to make a hole like this, right? That's a pretty okay sized hole, but if I move around like this, the hole's much, much bigger, right? Now, this is a pretty bad piece of wall to do it on because of the material it's made out of. It's not very consistent. A much better wall to do it would be on drywall like this. And the reason that having a bigger hole whenever you're making rotates as opposed to a smaller hole is because the bigger holes that you have when you're making rotates means the less amount of shots that you have to put into the actual rotate. As you can see with the bailiff, I used 3 shots and I was able to make a rotate. If I wasn't moving, the holes would be smaller and I'd have to use way more bullets. See, I had to use 4, and an unskilled player would use like 5 or 6, or maybe even more than an entire mag. But just because I'm moving in a circle, or just moving side to side, I'm immediately able to get bigger holes than if I wasn't. So always be moving around when you're making any sort of rotates, and it will make rotates a lot quicker to make in the prep phase. Another trick that you can do to make rotations quicker with shotguns is by one-shotting hatches. Now, I'm going to one-shot this hatch with my shotgun, and I want you to try to guess how I do it. Now, obviously, I was moving. And that's part of the trick, but it's not the entire trick. To do this, all you have to do is go to the hatch. You want to make sure that you're not straight in front of the hatch and you're actually diagonal to it, so the hatch doesn't look like a square and it looks like a diamond when you're facing it. Then, you want the top of your crosshair and the bottom of your crosshair to line up with the top of the hatch and the bottom of the hatch. Pretty simple, right? To do this, obviously, you're going to have to back up, right? Now the bottom and the top are lined up. But if you back up like this, sometimes it won't one-shot the hatch. It did there, but sometimes it won't. And if you want to guarantee that it will, all you have to do is be moving while it's going on. And then you'll be able to one-shot hatches every single time without fail by just lining up your crosshair correctly and moving around. Another thing that makes the game just easier to play is going into your settings, going to general, and turning on your visible throw trajectory. Let's say, for example, that I wanted to get a Valkyrie camera above this pillar right here. I'm not going to try to land it in the roof because then they'd be able to shoot it, but I want to land it on top of the top of this pillar. Now, without my visible throw trajectory, it's going to be pretty hard. I don't know where this thing's going to land, and if I try to, like, you know, make a lineup for it and actually throw it, I didn't even make it up there. Not even close, right? But all you have to do to make sure that you never miss literally anything in your game ever again is turning on visible throw trajectory. You might be saying this is a crutch, maybe it's only for new players. Well, personally, I don't like to miss, and it never really gets in the way of my gameplay. So now I know, oh, yeah, that's going to land way too far down. Maybe let's look up. That's going to land too deep and not get as much info, so maybe let's scoot back a bit until it's on top. Mess with it a bit more. And right there. That's about where I want it. Let's throw it. And obviously, because I lined it up, it didn't miss. It landed on top of the pillar, but not on the ceiling. And no one's going to find that, while the Valkyrie camera will definitely find them. This is one of the best Valkyrie spots in the game, and you can find many more like it by just turning on one simple setting. Something else that's very simple that I guarantee you're not doing, that you would need to start doing now, is putting your Mozzie Pest in floors instead of on the floor. What do I mean by this? Well, if I'm droning through this building and I see a Mozzie Pest just on the floor like this, which isn't a bad Mozzie Pest, it still covers this entire hallway and makes it where they, you know, they can't drone upstairs. Like, it's okay. But if I'm droning and I see this, I'm not going to run into it, right? Unless I'm a copper solo queue teammate, I'm not going to run into that. I'm just going to keep my drone safe. And as Mozzie, you kind of don't want to let them keep their drone safe. You want to catch at least a drone. To do this, all you have to do is break open a little part of a wooden floor that you can find, like this one. Then, put the Mozzie Pest in the floorboard like this, and now it is much more likely that they're going to run over that. Why? Well, if I'm droning right here, I'm droning through this door, pretend I'm a drone, right? I'm droning in, right? And I see the little indicator on my screen of a Mozzie Pest. I'm gonna assume, oh, it's around this corner, right? And then once I see, oh, it's not around the corner, I'm gonna be like, oh, then it must be on the janitor door. Let me just walk past the janitor door, and then boom, that Mozzie Pest is going to catch me, right? 9 times out of 10, this works because they expect it to be like on a doorway, especially like, for instance, if there was wooden floor right here, right? And I put the Mozzie Pest on this wooden floor, if they drive right here, right? They drive all the way right here and they see that indicator, of course they're going to think the Mozzie Pest is around the door. That's what 90% of Mozzie players do. So then they're just going to drive past the door and drone the hallway, and then they're going to die to the Mozzie Pest in the floor, right? That's why putting Mozzie Pests in floors is such a good idea. I know this is a little bit of a bad example, but you get the idea. Start putting them in the floor and you'll get a lot more success out of your Mozzie Pests. Something else that will give you so much more success is aiming for the body with one-shot weapons. Now, the reason that you need to be aiming for the body when you have one-shot weapons like the Boss G or Cali Sniper or even shotguns for that matter is because it's an easier target to hit, right? Because I know that if I shoot him in the torso, he is going to get downed. Now, if you're playing Cali, aiming for the head and getting a headshot is cool because you'll get the kill, but 9 times out of 10, if you're in the position to down somebody, you're in the position to finish them off and kill them when they're on the ground as well. If the target that you're shooting for is bigger, it's easier to hit. Bigger things are easier to hit. I know, what a concept. But if I'm aiming and I'm quick peeking, right, it's so much easier for me to, like, just aim low and hit the body because it's so fucking big than it is for me to try to, like, flick to the head, right? Obviously, I missed there on purpose. I'm cracked if I want to be, but you get the idea. With it out of the way, though, my name is Alka. Check out this next video, and I hope I'll see you there.